Good evening and welcome to the Business of Art. A little bit of a lag there. I was a little bit concerned that we may be having a bit of lag. I did a bit of a timing earlier, and the hilariously the so I'm just adjusting the mic volume. It seems a little low here, but I know that it does sound different through the actual stream. But anyway, let's get straight into it. In this video, we are looking at the basic structure of a business. That's going to help give us a better understanding of the structure that we can build around our art. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is just talk a little bit tonight about the basic structure of a business, and this will basically, this is standard for all businesses, really, this basic structure. And this is something that I've taken from Dean Jackson, who is arguably one of the world's greatest marketers, one of the greatest marketing minds. I've talked a lot about Seth Godin. Dean Jackson is another person that I've been following for years, and his understanding of marketing is crazy. Like, he just thinks about marketing all the time, and his ability to break complex systems down into very simplistic processes and concepts is amazing. This is the guy who created the landing page, that concept of a squeeze page, the idea of a page that you go to and you put your email address in to to access the content as a lead generator and that kind of thing, for people to be able to generate leads. He came up with that idea. So this guy is amazing. He knows what he's talking about. And this structure that we're going to have a very quick look at tonight is basically taken from a philosophy that he has in the way that it works. And I totally agree. So basically, our business is in three separate sections. We can think about our business. Now, for us as creators, for me, that's as a producer of shows. For a product business, it's exactly the same. For a SaaS company, it's exactly the same. All business, really, when you think of it in this global kind of concept, has this same structure. And if we can think about the way that we approach our customers and selling our products and our shows and whatever it is that you sell, whether you're a visual artist or a musician, or you have some other kind of product, or if you have a mix of products in your range. So for me, I have shows, but I also have digital products that I can sell customers. And so trying to get things happening online and offline, ultimately the process and the thinking around it is the same. So let's get into it. The three parts really are a before unit, a during unit, and an after unit. So what does that mean? Well, everything that leads the customer up to actually dealing with you and purchasing from you is the before unit. That process of them purchasing from you is the during unit, and that experience they have with your product. So for us as producers, as people who make shows, that experience of actually seeing the show, that's the during unit. The after unit is everything that happens after they've experienced the product, or for other products, it might be after they've purchased the product. What does that mean? So let's look at a little bit more detail around what these three things are. So the before unit is essentially everything that you do to try and promote yourself. So all of your marketing, all of your branding, all of your work that you put into advertising, all of that is part of the before unit. That is everything that is hopefully going to bring your customers to you. It's lead generation, that sense of nurturing them through a process to get to know you a little bit better, right through to the point where they will purchase from you. So everything up until the point of purchase is the before unit. So you may capture an email address, you may get somebody on your mailing list, you may be able to put them through a nurturing campaign to get to know you and the company and the business and who they are. At this point, they may not yet have actually purchased a show ticket or one of your products or whatever. They've just gone, I kind of like what you're doing, and I'm going to give you my email address, which is a big win if you can get somebody on the email list. And you can use that process then to educate them and nurture them through to get to know you better and understand the product and understand the type of work that you create, to the point where you might be able to actually have them purchase. And then if you do, we enter the during unit. And the during unit really is the sale. It's when they buy the ticket, it's when they see the show, it's when they leave the show. For me as a producer, that's what it is. Now, there's actually something missing on that particular slide, which is on some of the later slides, which is between buy the ticket and see the show, is this idea of the time, the gap. There's a distance there because, particularly if I'm selling theatre, they might buy the ticket and it might be weeks or even a couple of months before they actually see the show. So there's actually a little extra component in there, which we'll talk about more a little bit later. I wonder if that's on the next slide. No. The after unit is everything that happens after they've seen that show for me, after they've purchased the product for whatever it is that you sell, whether it's your art or some other product. So that is everything in the post sale. So that is the service, the follow-up service, the follow-up conversation that you have, the ongoing contact that you make with that customer, with that audience member. And it's what you can do to continue to deepen the connection with them. So whether that's sending them a weekly or a monthly email, or sending them a follow-up gift, a bonus, all of that kind of stuff. That everything that happens after the sale is the after unit. So that's kind of the overreaching basic structure before, during, and after. And if you can think about the part that we as artists often really focus on, and there you go, I can see I've put the lead up in that middle section there. The part that we generally focus on as artists is the see show bit. You know, we focus on creating the work and creating the show, the product, and getting that to come to life. And that's really mostly what our focus is. But yet there is all of this other stuff that we need to do if we want to have a good, consistent, functioning business that continues to drive business for us and drive income for us. The thing that we focus on the most generally is seeing the show, getting that customer to buy the ticket and see the show. Sometimes it's really just seeing the show. We don't even really think. I know a lot of artists who haven't really put a lot of thought into the whole process of how a customer buys the ticket. You know, what does that look like? What does it look like for them to buy your product? And a lot of people really don't put a lot of thought into that. You know, I've been to some websites of artists, visual artists, painters, and that sort of thing. They've got great images of the work that they do. The art looks beautiful. And then it's really hard to work out how to buy it. There's images of the art, there's sizes, there's prices, but I cannot see a buy now button, a purchase button. There might be a sales page. I was looking at one just yesterday that has a sales page, and it has all of the products, all of the art listed. It was a painter, and they have all of their art listed on their website, and there's sizes and prices, but there was actually no way to purchase it and no clear instructions on how I, as a customer, can purchase it. So it's something that's it's fascinating to me that we don't put a lot of thought into that. But that's our creative brain. You know, we're just so focused on creating the art, we often don't think about all of these other things. But this is really the full picture of what we need to think about. But we generally will focus on see the show, like get that art created, and then hope that people come and see it. But there's quite a bit of work to do before that and a bit of work to do after that. Now, the other thing that we need to be aware of is that pretty much for every business, it's the same, that the most expensive part of our process, apart from actually creating the work for us as producers, for instance, but the most difficult and the most expensive part of the actual audience process is the lead generation. It's the acquiring of a new customer. That is generally the most expensive part of the process for us to get audience members. Spending the money to advertise, market, brand, to get people to know who we are, to take an interest in what we're doing, to buy a ticket. That is generally across all business the most expensive part. It's actually a lot cheaper to um, to resell to a customer that's already existing. And so the goal really needs to be, once we get people to that point of seeing the show, purchasing that ticket and seeing the show, or working with your product, whatever that product is, the idea needs to be that we take that into the after unit and we encourage more conversation and deepen that relationship with them, because that follow up and the ongoing contact is the thing that's going to help them come back and buy another ticket. That's the part of this whole process with our audience that's going to keep them in that cycle. So basically, once we get them in, what we want to do is try and keep them connected to what we're doing so that we get them back in here to buy another ticket, see another show, go back into that after sales flow so that we get this cycle happening here. And when we get that happening, what we're doing is building what we call the lifetime value of our customer. So you might have a customer that buys a ticket, comes and sees a show, and they only see that one show. Well, the lifetime value of that customer was that one show. If you can get them into an after sales cycle where you're sending them reminders and information and continuing to deepen that relationship with them, well, you might get them to buy another ticket to your next show. And the lifetime value of that customer has just doubled. Right. So now instead of it being $40, it's now $80. And that's a great thing. The longer you can get that customer engaged with you, then obviously the better it is. And it's easier because they've already experienced the work that you do. They already understand you. They have a knowledge of what they're going to expect. Then that whole part of the process becomes so much easier. Now, are you going to have people come and see a show and hate what you do and never come back? Absolutely. Expect that. That's totally fine. In fact, you want that. The more you can repel the people that don't like what you do, the better, because it makes more space for the people that do like what you do. And that is the process then of helping you actually build raving fans that will then just buy everything that you ever create. So let's have a little bit more of a look at that after unit because it is so important. Once you have someone who's bought a ticket, come and seen your show, or bought your product and used your product, purchased your art and hung your art on the wall, what else can you do? What do we talk to them about? So for me as a producer, as a director, as an artist that makes shows, what can I talk to them about? And there's a few things that we can look at. So first thing I would do, and first thing I do is I send a questionnaire with just 5 or 6 very simple, quick questions in a Google form, just asking what their experience was. What did they think of the show? Did they enjoy it? How would they rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? Did they have any comments, any feedback that they wanted to add? Because then that also helps me get testimonials, quotes that I can use on future marketing materials, and that kind of thing. But I'll also ask more about the process of getting everything through that whole system. So how easy was it to purchase a ticket? How easy was it to get to the venue? What was the parking like? What was their experience like actually coming through to see the show, not just the show itself? What was that all like? Because everything I can do to make all of those touch points, all of those moments better for my customer is an opportunity to keep them for a longer period of time engaged with what we do. The more I can make them enjoy the entire experience and not just the show, the more I can reduce the friction of them coming out to see a show. So what can I do to make that whole process easier? What other value can I add to the experience of seeing the show? So for instance, with the kids shows that I do, um, generally we have little trading pins. I don't have any here at hand, but we have a bunch of trading pins, and so the kids get given a pin as a prize, and then they have the option to trade that pin for some custom made pins that all relate to the show. So we're adding this whole another layer of experience, and it doesn't cost a lot of money to do that. But that added value that the customer gets, that the audience members are getting, it's another thing to remember us by. And that they'll wear those pins, and the plan is that they'll come back wearing those pins to the next show, get another pin, and then start to see that they'll be able to trade around this whole kind of pin trading culture that we're building. But that's an added value. So you can ask about those sorts of things. You can send updates on the next work that you're doing. You can send information about other shows that you think they might like, because if they're coming to see the work that you create, well, then you can probably find other shows like what you do that might appeal to them. And so then you also become their guide and the curator of them having great experiences and seeing great shows that really appeal to them. And then the other thing that you can do is you can put a referral process in place where you're actually trying to get your current customers to help bring new audience members along. So that's a whole separate process in itself. We won't dig into that tonight, but that's a really important part of the process, because then you're reducing the cost of acquiring new audience members because those audience members are doing the marketing for you. They're loving the experience to the point where they're talking about you, talking about the show, and they're going to bring people along because it's such a great experience. They want to share that with other people. There's a whole range of different referral processes that you can put in place that will help with that. So we'll definitely do a whole kind of video just on the referral processes and things that you can think about around that. But that's another big part of that, and there's ways to do that through the way that you email. That's not salesy, it's not sleazy, but it is about helping that customer feel like they're helping someone else. So we'll talk about that in a bit more depth down the track. So that's some things that you can do as part of that after unit process. All right, so we've got the before, the during, and the after unit. And really, the most important things that you can do to start with, if you're going, well, where do I start? Where do I think about all of this? The thing that I would recommend is those two areas. The lead up, how can you create a better experience in that space between when the customer buys the ticket and when they come to see the show? Now, it might not be, anything flash. It could simply be, here is hey, the show's coming up in a week. You've booked in for this time slot. Generally, the traffic at that time is going to be like this. We would recommend that you leave, this long before you're due to see the show, so that you can kind of get through the traffic and arrive on time. When you arrive, this is what you'll see. This is what you'll find. We've got a bar. We've got this, so you can have a drink with your friends before you come in, before you see the show. So give them that information. Reduce um, that whole what am I going to expect, and help them out with that information. And in that follow up and ongoing contact section afterwards, those two you can do for really no additional cost, no additional cash outlay, simply by utilizing the emails that you get through that purchase process. Now, if you are a performer, self producer, or whatever, and you're going into a venue, I would absolutely recommend that when you talk to the venue, make sure that part of the process of them selling the tickets, because often it's the venues that are going to sell the ticket, part of that deal is that you get the email addresses of the people that come and see the show. You get the ticket buyer details, because they're coming to see your show. Yes, it's at that venue. And you'll need to negotiate with some venues because some of them will be reluctant to do it, but you want to have that direct communication with the audience member if you can, because you want to be able to find out what they thought of the show. You want to be able to get that information from them, but you also want to be able to do these things because that is going to help you sell more tickets in the future. Now, the way that you can also leverage this with the venue is that you can tell them that once that show is over, they're going to go into a follow-up sequence, and that you're basically going to help continue marketing the venue, because you're going to bring another show back. You're going to help bring those people back to purchase more tickets through their venue. So, you can talk about those sorts of things, but as the fastest way to kind of take that next step and develop that whole experience of your business growing, they're the two areas that I would focus on. So most businesses focus on trying to find new customers. And as you can see, that's in red because that is the most expensive part of the process, instead of developing the relationship they have with existing customers. And you can see that's in green because that is the least expensive part of the process. So if you get audience coming to see your shows and you can continue to develop that relationship with them, it is going to give you a much higher chance of them purchasing more tickets to more shows in the future, so that you can get them coming back as repeat customers, and you can build them into potentially being raving fans, which is what you want. A raving fan being defined by um, Kevin Kelly as basically someone who will purchase whatever it is that you create. That's what we're trying to get to. So just a quick recap: the before, during, and after units. We're talking before being lead gen, nurturing, education; the during unit being the sale, buying the ticket, leading up to the show, seeing the show, leaving the show; and the after unit being everything post. So all of that follow-up, communication, ongoing contact, whatever you can do to continue to deepen the connection that you have with that audience member. So they are the areas that I would focus on if I was going to be taking next steps. So that's it. Very brief overview of the basic structure of the business. I really hope that was of use to you. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments what's the one area of this that you think you can take action in right now for your next event, your next show, the next thing that you could do to help build your connection to your customer, to your audience member. Pop it in the comments below. I'd be fascinated to see it. That's it from me. Have a great night. Talk to you soon.